Hello my peeps, this is Kat aka Kakibot, and today I thought it would be really fun to do 2 days of eating just Scottish food. And I actually know this video is very necessary to make because I was talking about this concept with a friend who said, oh, so you're like gonna eat haggis for 48 hours. I see you. I'm thinking that we are gonna keep it around the city center, but I also want to see if we can try some things that maybe I've never had before and some things that maybe are not as obvious to you. Again, you know, I think that a lot of people's idea of what Scottish cuisine is might from time to time be a bit limited. So yeah, we're gonna try and get like a little bit creative with it. We're gonna start with our day one breakfast here in a place that I never thought would be a place that would be recommended to me as a place to get a Scottish brekkie, which is here within the National Gallery of Scotland. There's a place in there, the sort of gallery restaurant from Contini. And the one thing that I find extremely exciting about grabbing a breakfast there is that they do Aberdonian butteries, which is not something I've seen in Edinburgh before. This is kind of like a Scottish version of a croissant. So yeah, we're gonna go and grab one of those right now and see what Aberdonians have baking. Let's go.
By the way, this was also the day of the Edinburgh Marathon, which made this video concept feel slightly more indulgent than originally intended. But yeah, a genuine congrats to everyone who ran while we were stuffing our faces. Anywho, the Scottish restaurant by Contini at the National Gallery is quite large and airy, and early in the day seemed pretty empty but quickly filled up towards lunchtime. They have a breakfast menu served until 11:30 and then a seasonal lunch menu until 4. We had to go for one of the butteries, specifically the brunch one with creme fraiche and fruit and bacon and maple syrup, mostly as it felt like a good way of offsetting the full Scottish we also had. Not to offset it like health-wise, but like in a sweet and savory way, if you know what I mean. The buttery was a bit less salted than I wanted it, but the bacon added some of that savoriness back. The full Scottish was satisfying, surprisingly beanless, but with nice tomatoes and the very necessary slice of haggis and black pudding. After our brekkie, we tried to visit Preacher's Patisserie, but as it was a Sunday, they were closed and I didn't do my research right, and we were a bit grumpy because the weather turned a tad dreadful. Thankfully, a real Edinburgh icon had our back.
Okay, for lunch, little sort of staple Scottish picnic treat that we took here into the botanics, even though the weather is kind of today. So we are taking advantage of the forecast saying that we now have about 10 minutes to quickly eat this in the sunshine before it starts pouring down again. Yeah, so we went to Pie Maker, which you will find on South Bridge. It has been there since forever, definitely since I first moved here. It is quite the Edinburgh institution. And what I like is that they always seem to be pretty well stocked. They always seem to have the ovens going, and there's such a great wide selection of things, very kind of Scottish feeling things you can pick up from there, both savory and sweet. We do have 2 savories here today, one of them being the very iconic macaroni pie, which I feel like to a non-Scottish person this doesn't sound like it should be Scottish, but it is a very Scottish thing. Originally pasta has made it to Scotland in I think like in 18th century, and throughout the 19th century it has been this very fancy, expensive thing. The first official example of a macaroni pie being made and being sold for not that cheap actually was up in Dundee. Dundee is a pretty important place in Scotland when it comes to like culinary history. They are also very big on marmalade. So yeah, macaroni pies. So you have Dundonians to thank for those too. Anyway, I'm gonna give this a little chomp now. Very cheesy. Oh, it's very savory. Obviously quite the carb action here, but this is delicious. If you're trying to do like a tour of Scottish food, you definitely should try a macaroni pie. The other thing we picked up might look like a bit of a apple turnover to you, but this is in fact a forfar bridie. It is basically kind of a different version of a Scotch pie. It is filled with beef and onions traditionally. Sometimes you can find it with other things, and people from Forfar will tell you that if it hasn't been made there, then you can't call it that. And to be honest, Pie Maker did not call it that. They did just call it the bridie. So the history of the bridie also goes back to the 19th century. As you can tell, this would be one of those like traditional sort of British meals that you can just like carry around to work. It has some sustenance in it. It is full of that good energy you need as a working class person. I don't know where to start. I just want to like kiss it on the lip. Oh, this is normal. It almost looks like there's a little burger in it. This does genuinely taste like it has like an oniony beefy patty in it, which might just be like Pie Maker's way of making beef. It is very tasty though, so yeah.
So after dodging the weather's mood swings all day, we landed at MAPPR's, apparently the #1 casual dining spot in the UK according to TripAdvisor right now. Very fancy. Well, I do like this eatery a lot, so I'm more than happy to give them yet another shout out. This is one of the top spots to try haggis in Edinburgh, and they actually used to source it from their favorite butcher, but now they actually make their very own. Yay! Simon did try some, had it with their mustard mash, and it was top tier yum indeed. Myself, I picked the Aberdeen Angus beef shoulder in horseradish infused gravy, because you can't be hauling camera gear up and down Edinburgh's hills while heavily anemic, so yay for beef. We finished with a little crumble to share, made with Scottish brambles and apples, so yeah, still fits the challenge we have set for this video. It was fruity, not too sweet, and I had a lovely buttery crumb and creamy custard to go with it.
Okay, that is the finish of our first day of eating nothing but Scottish food, and it has been fun. It has been a bit beige. I am really glad that we ended it with MAPPR's, who do, even though they are technically a mash bar, you can go no mash, and instead of the mash you can get broccoli, which I have opted in for because I thought I need to get at least one of my 5 a day. Otherwise I thought I would feel absolutely terrible about myself. Yeah, so I did get some greens and now I'm happy. We also had the delicious crumble. They do have a whole selection of Scottish desserts there, and I would really recommend popping in. If you remember, in our video that was just about haggis. Now tomorrow I am gonna be back first on my own. I'm gonna see if I can find even more Scottish fare. Simon can't join me for the first half of the day, but he will join me for dinner. And we're gonna show you even more places that might not be super duper obvious when it comes to trying Scottish food. So yeah, something to look forward to.
On day 2 of my Scottish food challenge, I walked down to Cannon Mills to my ever so beloved Hata, a cafe that has become the place to source fancy porridge. Oats are a big deal in Scottish cuisine, and many places will make you a classic oat honey cream combo, but here you can get it a bit more over the top. In my case, with a tart fruit compote and tasty fresh figs. I thought it would be a bit too big to finish, but I am a little porridge goblin and I just yearn for those beta glucans, I guess. You can also get some cold overnight oats here, which are served in smaller jars if mine seemed a bit overwhelming.
So, after the humongous porridge that I started my day with, which by the way, still one of my favorite meals to have in this whole city, so no regrets, I am not quite in the mood for like a full-blown lunch. However, I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to make this just a breakfast and dinner day that feels like a cop-out, so I thought instead I would answer a question that I keep getting all the time, which is where to get a nice homemade shortbread here in Edinburgh. We used to have a shop just by Royal Mile. It was called Pennies and Poppy Seeds, and I'm sure many of you are like true Edinburgh travel OGs, and you remember that it would be like this shop that like smelled absolutely magical of like caramelized butter, just the nicest smelling shop I've ever been to. And then after they closed down, just for the longest time, I just did not know how to answer that question until I realized that one of my favorite bakeries in town, Tasty Buns Bakery, here close to Grassmarket, does do shortbread pretty often, and you should definitely check them out. Today they actually also did fudge donuts, which we missed out on, but they do still have shortbread on the shelf, so we're gonna try that and yeah, review it for you. I have been here multiple times already in a couple of my Patreon videos, so if you want to know all of this tasty information earlier than other people, head on over to my Patreon. This is the address, and you can see videos about Scottish life and tips on what to do and eat here, often earlier than other people, but dedicated videos, so like you get your own videos as a patron extra on top of everything that you can see on my channel. Anyway, yes, enough of that plug. We're gonna go eat some shortbread now.
And indeed, the little cinnamon shortbread was truly exquisite. Just the perfect little treat to go with your coffee, with a hint of comforting autumnal spice, even on a humid warm day like this. We also tried some of their strudel with tart apples and pistachios. Big yum from this Central European. And for dinner, something I absolutely love to make a special treat when eating Scottish: seafood. To conclude our Scottish Eats Challenge, we headed over to the Mussel and Steak Bar on Grassmarket. We were welcomed by some free oysters, which were honestly some of the best I've had. Very big and meaty. Simon had Cullen skink as his starter. I am sure many of you know that this is basically a Scottish smoked fish chowder, perfectly creamy and comforting. I had the scallops in garlicky sauce, a big fave for me when it comes to seafood. And for mains, we both had mussels. Did you know mussels are one of the best ways of getting a massive amount of iron in you? Well, that's yet another anemia fact for you from your favorite paleo YouTuber. I just had the good old kilo with some bread for soaking up the sauce, and Simon did a surf and turf version with a lovely steak on the side. Scotland has good beef, and you shouldn't be missing out on it just because you're technically out for seafood.
And that was our dinner, and because I know you guys are not stupid, I'm just gonna address the lack of continuity here. You can tell that I am standing here under the harsh midday sun of Scottish summer, and that's because when we had that dinner in Mussel and Steak Bar, we had to rush back home for Dungeons and Dragons, so we didn't get the time to do the outro then, and we're doing it now. But yeah, the light is it has let me down, and the wind is also letting me down. I'm making it worse. Anyway, this is fine. Okay, I hope you all enjoyed this little romp around town, trying Scottish food, both more traditional, the meals that you probably already knew about and already had on your foodie bucket list, and some things that maybe you haven't, because like for me, a lot of these were kind of new. I was really happy to finally find a place that does homemade shortbread, because again, I get so many questions about that. I really enjoyed the pie maker macaroni pie. I always thought there is no need in trying that. It just sounds like a carb atrocity. No, it's actually delicious and very savory. And I think, you know what, I think it would make the perfect snack for like a hike, because like it kind of keeps, you know, put it in a box, not in just a paper bag, but I think it kind of keeps, and it's like a good, like a carbo load situation, and also, you know, salty, so replenishes electrolytes. I'm giving up on the hair situation. I would love to know what your favorite Scottish food is. I would really love to know what would be your places of choice, what would be your Scottish meals of choice, because yeah, always really curious to know what's like, wasn't me. I'm always really curious what like people's favorite bits out of the whole, you know, range of Scottish cuisine are. Okay, I'm getting very distracted by the sun and the heat and the bus, but before I say bye, don't forget that I have a little map of all of my favorite places in Edinburgh over on MAPPR. You can leave me a little tip there and unlock the 100 plus spots there for some more tips on where to eat and where to visit. I also, as already mentioned, have my Patreon page, so yeah, check that out. And also, if you want to say hi and if you want to kind of like really be in touch and know what I'm up to on a day-to-day basis, you can follow me on Instagram, KakiBot for illustrations and more silly, nerdy things, and KakiBlog for the more lifestyle-y, photo, pretty stuff. So yeah. Okay, that is it from me for now. Hope you had fun, and I shall see you soon.